Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmitz_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmitz.
Welcome to it. We are on the road today. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson, as Elijah Herbal is en route. We don't quite know where he's at. Maybe he's stuck at a toll booth. We will see him in a little bit, but we're excited on the road. Here we are in view of Owen Field, Memorial Stadium. Nebraska, Oklahoma get to touch gloves for the first time since the Big 12 championship game in 2010. We got in last night in the Uncle Andy mobile, the RV. He even has a couple of hazmat suits packed just to play along. But we got parked at the Lloyd Noble Center about a couple hours ago. But, man, it's been a good time. It's fun to bump into Oklahoma fans, see a few Nebraska fans just getting ready to put their roots down and start grilling and having a beverage or two. So we're here at the Cohiba Lounge, and just an incredible event gets going tonight at 6:30. Remember in 1971, 50 years, the game of the century, and so many former Husker greats and Sooner greats going to be on hand here. So if you're on your way to Norman, enjoy and see what can happen tomorrow. Numbers to get in with Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Friday, powered by your friends at Arrow Brokerage and Ferris Financial Group, sending us on the road into number 3's backyard. 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Numbers to get in. Can email Chris at hailvarsity.com, and always can email Chris at hailvarsity.com is the way to go. So when we talk about getting back, what you long for as a Nebraska fan is to be relevant, to be recent, and you hear that Nebraska's, well, been off the radar, and they haven't been what they used to be. Granted, 20 years ago, Nebraska was ranked 4th in the country. 10 years ago, Nebraska ranked 11th in the country. 5 years ago, you had that Oregon upset, and remember that well, as loud as Memorial State has been in quite a while. And, of course, you have a chance to do something about your perception, how you're seen by the national folks in college football, how you're seen locally by the fan base that, quite honestly, is petrified about tomorrow. Not everyone, but a lot of you. And how are you? We have some Nebraska fans and OU fans behind us. Again, here at the Cohiba Lounge, 4 to 6. And again, the 1971 reunion follows. Game of the century. Will Wilson back at our studios can watch us as we are on the StreamYard. And that's ESPN Lincoln on Facebook. Can find us on Twitter at ESPN Lincoln, at Hail Varsity. Will, it's been awesome. It's been a good week in nostalgia. New York Times best-selling author, big-time Husker fan. Growing up, Lars Anderson will be with us. Bill Doleman, the pride of Fairbury, going to join us at 5 o'clock. And then Jimmy Walden, Gentleman Jim Walden, part of the Nebraska coaching staff. Of course, Coach Walden at Iowa State and Washington State. But Jim Walden, part of the Vandy staff for 1971, and Jim is as good as it gets. Clausebourne will be with us for the Friday forecast, and Claus may have a sack of tacos to deliver to Coach Switzer here. But we're fired up. We're excited to be on the road. And, Will, let's talk a little bit here about what you want as a Nebraska fan Saturday. All I want Saturday is ... And we can go a lot of different directions. Don't get embarrassed. Don't get blown out. Play tough 4 quarters of football. Don't give in. I don't know where the score is going to be. I know what my score prediction was on KFOR this morning, and I think just based on history, as much as I'd love to see the Scott Frost offense open up and have a 2018 type performance like they did against Ohio State, I just don't know that you've got the same weapons or they're ready to be that potent tomorrow. You don't have a running game that's well established. Your offensive line has struggled to move people off the football. Your defense has been really, really good. What are you going to ask them to do? How long can they hang on, deflect a really powerful Sooner offense? What happens? And in these matchups, Nebraska hasn't produced really well offensively. There's been turnovers, there's been inconsistency, and quite honestly, there's been more field goals than touchdowns, and you're stuck at that 17 to 24 point total, and you just don't beat Oklahoma in Norman scoring less than 35 points. When they have fallen, it's been a shootout type ball game. But as a Nebraska fan, what do you want tomorrow? All you want is what? What's the outcome? Yes, a win. Maybe it's a stupid question, but if that's not in the cards, what can you put in your back pocket and say, okay, this is progress, this is okay, this can be built on moving forward with the season? And for me, what I want to see tomorrow is real simple. Try and find a way for this thing to be a 4-quarter game. Get some turnovers, play incredible defense, play loose, go have fun, let it all hang out, and let the world see really how talented Adrian Martinez is, and give him some help. Give Adrian some help. Those are some 3 keys, right? Can we see play action tomorrow? That's all based on the run. Can you get push in the run game that turns into play action? And this no fear of failure, unleash it, man. Try and take the top off a very fast and physical and gritty Oklahoma defense. The run game, key. Play action, big time. Can you disrupt the Sooner offense enough if you're Deontay Williams or Cam Taylor-Britt or Robinson or Ben Stilley? Ben Stilley's been playing great football. Caleb Tanner off the edge. What can happen? And what's your plan of attack tomorrow, right? You need at least 3 turnovers tomorrow if you're the Nebraska defense. You need to be about 80% in the red zone, touchdown to field goal ratio. And you need to raise hell with TFLs. And you really need to batter and bruise Spencer Rattler, because I tell you what, if Spencer Rattler is running for his life or not setting his feet or in trouble under duress, he can have a Tulane type performance. Now, we've had a lot of experts on this week that say, okay, Oklahoma's had their bad game already in September. It was Tulane. But you've got this team that I think's been brought down to earth a little bit post Tulane. But they still, I don't know how jacked they're going to be, quite honestly, for Nebraska. I don't think they care for the right. It's not that they don't care, but 18 to 22-year-olds don't know what Nebraska, Oklahoma was like I had growing up. Will, like your folks shared with you. You get history. You're still rocking the old Big 8 hat, but tomorrow is what for you with Saturday? If you look at Nebraska, what's it got to be?
Smitty, I just don't want to get embarrassed. I don't want to get embarrassed on national television for the 14th time in 3 years. Let's not give the media a reason to do what we all hate and are annoyed by at this point. So, obviously we all want to win. I just want to, give the media to embarrass Oklahoma. Let's embarrass Oklahoma a little bit instead of us getting embarrassed.
Let's have the national folks say, what is wrong with OU? Oh, yes. They're being dropped from 3rd to 12th even though they won.
Yes.
They escaped Nebraska. That'd be really cool. Mm-hmm. And it can be a changed narrative for Nebraska. Now, I don't know that it is I think it would be. As much guff as Coach Frost has got with his offense, with where they're at in year 4, it's something that everyone would slam the brakes on and say, okay, this is your launching point of the Frost era, and wow, what a win it would be. It's not that it can't happen. You've just seen too much self-harm to believe that they can play a clean football game. Uncle Mark has been gracious enough to be along on the road and help me set up. You've come to a lot of these. I think Nebraska has been blown out every time you've been down here, be it Adrian Peterson or, dare I say, the Joe Gans bubble screen that went oh so wrong.
Yeah, it's been a lot of heartbreak, a lot of memorable games for the wrong reasons. A lot of my road trips.
A lot of Busch Light.
Probably. But a lot of the games have been memorable for the wrong reasons. I'm trying to think of the last road game that went well. Virginia Tech went very poorly with the late score killer.
Last second moment, Tyrod Taylor.
You know what it was? It was probably the Citrus Bowl against Clemson.
Okay.
The last road game that went well.
Great fourth quarter. Wonderful.
We shut down C.J. Spiller. Sue dominated.
You're down 2 touchdowns and you come back and get it done. But that's the 2008-2009 season.
Yeah, I mean, no question about it. So it's been forever. I would just love to see us come out, like you said, play to win, not play to not lose, not play to be scared or whatever. Go out and try to win a game. Take the top off, take your shots, let Adrian just play backyard football, let him do what he does best.
That works. And from a scheme standpoint, how much time is Adrian, and I get from an NFL standpoint or a next level, you want guys to be able to do a progression. That's what happens on Sundays. But I know with the Tim Beck offense, with Tommy Armstrong, for example, they could predetermine where they wanted to go with the football. And, Tommy was winning 9 or 10 games. Taylor was winning 9 or 10 games. You have the same type of player and athlete in Adrian that, there are some matchups. I'd love to see Alante Brown. Just let him run and stop after 8 yards and then have fun making an open field tackle Oklahoma. Get Omar Manning loose on a dig route and then let him pinata somebody for about 4 or 5 more yards after the catch. We'll get into some injury stuff. Who's going to play, who's going to suit up, who's likely, who's probable, who's still on the shelf. That's all still to come. But I think we're all kind of on the same page if you're a Nebraska fan with what is hoped for versus expected. And we'll bring you back in. I think, sadly, the majority, and this isn't to go like negative town this early in the show, but you've just seen it go sideways too often. And in fairness, you're taking on a team that has 7 5-stars and 28 4-stars. Now, Nebraska's done a good job of recruiting. Oklahoma's done a good job of recruiting and developed said talent. The biggest thing I want to see, man, get a run game going, get the play action a reality, get the offensive line to move, physically move the other defense, and just be a bully, man. Get downhill and find a back, and let's see. I bet you money Grinch is like, oh, it's interesting that Adrian's not kept any on these zone read plays. It's been straight shotgun, I-back, handoff. Well, I think they'll have somebody spying Adrian tomorrow, or at least paying attention on that edge when it comes to the zone read game. But move the pocket, roll him out, send 4 wideouts on all go routes, and let him tuck and run like he did against Illinois. But it should be pretty fascinating. I think Nebraska is going to be in a different mindset. I think Nebraska is going to be in a kind of a free type mentality where they can just go ball. And what can't happen, though, there can't be a moment that turns momentum and you never get it back. Nebraska's got to counter momentum, splash play, special teams, whatever the case may be. That's been their downfall. And that momentum zapper was a strip sack fumble for a touchdown against Illinois.
Yep.
That momentum zapper was no doubt a turnover or a special teams play, something that went horribly wrong. And that's been an ongoing theme for Nebraska for at least 15 years.
Yeah, you're right. And you talk about Adrian running. I wonder if Oklahoma's going to be very prepared for that. I wonder if they plan for a spy, maybe, even. Because, all these teams, all they talk about, Schmitty, is all they're concerned about is Adrian. So, all you got to do is prevent him, right, in their eyes, and they're fine.
Well, you got to have others step up, do their job, and they have the talent to do it. Coming up, we'll check in with Lars Anderson. Lars was Sports Illustrated for a number of years. Lars also with the Jay Barker Show down in Tuscaloosa. So we'll find out more from Lars, his thoughts on Nebraska, Oklahoma. And next hour, Jim Walden going to be with us, longtime coach at Iowa State and Washington State. The other part is really important. 1971, assistant coach, part of the offense. Jim Walden, part of the Vandy staff. We'll talk game of the century with the gentleman, Jim Walden, coming up in hour 2. The Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman. I thought we may have a Bill Doleman sighting, but Bill Doleman had a photo and video shoot. I'll let you do your own imagination with that news. We are on the road. We are in Norman. We're here at the Cohiba Lounge ahead of the Nebraska-Oklahoma 1971 celebration that'll get going at 6:30. You're invited down. Hail Varsity Roadshow, powered by Ferris Financial Group and Aero Brokerage. I want to see you down here. Excited to be on the road. Hot and humid, but we're under a tent. It works out well. I got my cup of coffee. Yes, it's coffee. And we're ready to go. It's Nebraska, it's Oklahoma. It's good to be back down in Soonerville. And we'll check in with Lars Anderson. Hail Varsity Roadshow Friday. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
I'm MJ Acosta-Ruiz with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Week 2 kicked off Thursday night at a rainy FedEx Field as the Washington football team beat the Giants 30-29 on a field goal with no time on the clock. Taylor Heineke led a 2-minute drive to set up a game-winning 48-yard field goal, but Dustin Hopkins' kick went wide right. However, Hopkins got a shot at redemption due to an offside penalty on the Giants. Hopkins' second kick was good, and Washington entered the win column this season. The Giants fall to 0-2 after failing to capitalize on several opportunities to build their lead. Daniel Jones ended with 249 yards through the air and 95 on the ground. That was more rushing yards than both Saquon Barkley and Antonio Gibson. Don't forget
.com/radio.
Fall is the perfect time to get...
Realtors have the expertise, local knowledge, and personal touch to give you a competitive advantage throughout the entire home buying process. And that's something an ordinary agent could never do. So make sure your agent is a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
It's the biggest season ever, and NFL Network is here for it.
Everything I got!
With 3 exclusive Thursday night football games. September 16th, the Giants battle Washington. September 23rd, the Panthers face the Texans. And September 30th, the Jags take on the Bengals.
Caught for the touchdown!
Plus, on October 10th, it's the Jets and Falcons in a special Sunday morning game, live from London.
That's big time there.
Football is all the way back. Exclusive live games start September 16th, only on NFL Network.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. It is Nebraska-Oklahoma week. A 25-year veteran, national college football writer, and 12-time New York Times best-selling author, Lars Anderson, is with us. His latest book with Bruce Arians, A Season in the Sun. Lars, how you doing, man? I know you're a native Lincolnite Nebraskan. OU Nebraska week's got to make you smile.
Yeah, it's great. I wish the game was on a little bit later. I'm sure a lot of people do, but I'll take it. And hopefully it's not a blowout, though I fear it will be.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? Let's cover that number for some of us, 22, 23 and a half. But Lars, what does Nebraska, Oklahoma invoke for you with college football?
I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this a lot over the years, but, I was born in 1971, and my dad always tells me the story of how he watched the sort of the original game of the century, Lyle Bremser's famous call on Johnny Rogers' punt return. years later, I did a story on Greg Pruitt, and I didn't realize this, but Greg Pruitt was the first person on that punt return that missed the tackle on Rodgers. And Pruitt believes, and a lot of people do, if Pruitt makes that tackle, Pruitt actually ends up winning the Heisman that year and not Johnny Rodgers. And then I've also spent a lot of time with Johnny over the years. One night he always comes to New York for the Heisman banquet. So does Mike Rozier. They're quite the 1-2 pair. And one evening, Mike Rozier, myself, Johnny Rodgers, and Tony Dorsett went out in a limo after and I don't even remember how I got caught up in this crew, but we went out and I took them to an after-hours bar in Spanish Harlem. And we were there until the sun came up. It was so much fun. It was one of the greatest nights of my life. And if something bad had happened, though, I was always worried that if there was in the story that would be written, if it was obituary, I would be the one that would be sort of buried in the story. I wouldn't have been prominently displayed. But no, everything went great. We had a really enjoyable evening. And I remember Johnny wrote a long note to my dad. And unfortunately, my dad passed away just a couple weeks later, and I never got a chance to give him that note. But he was my dad's favorite player. And then in 1981, I'm 10 years old. I'm sorry, it was 1978. 1978, and I don't believe Tom Osborne had beaten Oklahoma yet. Oklahoma comes to Lincoln, still remember as vividly, sort of gray, overcast, colder day. Billy Sims fumbles, I think, 6-7 times. But before the game, my dad had, let's say, more than a few cocktails, probably at Barrymore's. And so he was just determined. Even though my brother and I and my dad all had a ticket, he wanted me to sneak into the game because he just had a feeling that, that Nebraska is going to win this game, and he wanted me to have an unbroken ticket for posterity. And so he just told me, you're going to squeeze in between your brother and I. And at the time, there wasn't a police officer or security at every gate. And usually the people taking the ticket were in their 70s or 80s. And he was just once you get in, you just run like Isaiah Moses hip. You just run like I am hip. Don't turn back and just meet us at our seats later. And sure enough, I made it through, ran as fast as I could. And I met my dad and my brother at our seats. Nebraska ends up winning 17-14. Still remember Jim Pillen causing that fumble about the 3-yard line that Billy Sims had late in the game. And to this day, I framed that ticket, and it is in my office right above my desk. And I look at that ticket every single day, and it brings back such good memories of my dad and just the colorful character he was, and just how Nebraska football, it just brought us together as a father and a son. My most cherished moments with my dad were going to Nebraska games, and really that is why I love college football so much. Is ultimately the reason I went into sports writing and doing what I do today. And so much of it goes back to that unbroken ticket, again, that I look at every single day.
Lars Anderson with us, Hail Varsity Radio, and Lars Anderson, 71, New York Times bestselling author. His latest book with Bruce Arians, A Season in the Sun, co-host of the Jay Barker Show. Lars, you make me smile. When you talk about your dad, I talk to you about my dad and our love for college footballs from our fathers. And the 1991 Oklahoma game was my first, all right, you and your brother are going. For years, it was Dad took Mom. But we got to go watch Calvin Jones do his thing as it took us a year to thaw out after that 91 game. But your story about 78's so incredible, and that unbroken ticket. And over the years, Lars, you've seen a lot of heartache, but when Nebraska and T.O. and those great Nebraska teams would rise to the occasion and beat Barry, I mean, there were no Thanksgivings like them. You know, there were also some Thanksgivings that were just miserable because of what happened with Oklahoma, Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, you know, I talked to my friends in Alabama who are my age, and they remember those great Nebraska-Oklahoma rivalry games. And, you know, the only thing that's really comparable is the Iron Bowl now with Alabama-Auburn year in and year out. And by the way, I wrote a story in Sports Illustrated, and the title of it is Unbroken Ticket. I think you can probably find it online in detail about that. But yeah, just some of the best memories were those Oklahoma-Nebraska games. Unfortunately, Barry Switzer and Sooner Magic and Keith Jackson and, you know, all those games where you thought we had them. Jarvis Redwine running like 89 yards on about the third play of the game, and then Nebraska doesn't do anything the rest. I mean, I can almost recite every single Oklahoma-Nebraska game from the 80s and 90s, and I do have a picture from Tom Osborne. I think it's his 250th win was over Oklahoma, and you can see the scoreboard in the background. It's in the fourth quarter, and it's something like 63-0. And again, that's another cherished picture I have. And you know, I just, again, for this Saturday, you know, as a native Nebraskan, I certainly hope they can keep it close. And you know, hey, Tulane was able to keep it close. They were able to sort of make Spencer Rattler uncomfortable, and maybe Nebraska can do the same. But, you know, it's going to be tough, I think, for Nebraska to move the ball. Oklahoma's defense is improved, has improved over the last few years, and Adrian Martinez is probably going to have to play the game of his life to keep this game close.
Adrian's been playing good ball, and we'll see where that goes. Lars Anderson with us at Lars Anderson 71, co-host Jay Barker Show. His latest bestseller, A Season in the Sun with Bruce Arians, that Tampa title, and 12-time New York Times bestselling author, and 25-plus years of college football writing and analysis from Lars. And we love talking. Lars, what would a win mean for Coach Frost? I know he's had a tough intro to year 4 with the Illinois debacle.
Yeah, that Illinois game was pretty bad. You know, you look at the other coaches who were hired the same year as Scott Frost. And Scott Frost was the number one candidate. He was Florida's number one target. And Scott turned Florida down to come to Nebraska. Instead, Florida hires Dan Mullen. Mullen has got Florida now in the top 15. Chip Kelly, it looked like it was going to be a disaster in UCLA. He was the same sort of the same coaching class as Scott, and Chip Kelly, UCLA upsets LSU. They're now in the top 25. Nebraska hasn't sniffed the top 25 since Scott Frost got to, or I don't think they have at least. They got to Lincoln. Third losingest coach, I believe, in Nebraska football history. First coach in 60 years with 3 consecutive losing seasons. But, you know, I've been back a few times to Nebraska recently, and I talked to fans, and they seem to have a much more patience than the rest of the country. I mean, there's those sort of national college football writers believe that this is sort of Scott's last stand. I don't think that's the case. I think probably the feeling in the athletic department, especially with Trev Alberts, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if Scott can't get it done, you know, who can? But to me, it would be a signature victory. 2, it would, you know, it would cool things down for him, cool down the proverbial hot seat, and it would just sort of get people off of his back. And nationally, I'm telling you, I would talk to Tim Brando every week, and Tim Brando said that when Scott was hired, he was going to be his generation's Nick Saban, who's going to win multiple national titles, and boy, Tim has really been taking it on the chin on social media because of that tweet has sort of resurfaced, and especially after the Illinois game, and Illinois, I think they've lost their last 2 games after beating Nebraska. Illinois is not a good team, and they flat out beat Nebraska. Actually, Nebraska beat themselves, which was so aggravating. It's the same as Scott said after the game. It's the same movie just being replayed over and over again. And at some point, you can't. Who does the blame fall on? Does the blame fall on the players? Is it fall on the coaching staff? Does all this undisciplined play, does it fall on the coaching staff, or does it fall on the players?
Lars Anderson with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. We are on the road in Norman, the Cohiba Lounge, the site of the 1971 Nebraska-Oklahoma Game of the Century 50th anniversary celebration. A few more minutes coming up with Lars Anderson.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, Hail Varsity Radio on the road here at the Cohiba Lounge here ahead of the 1971 celebration. More with Lars Anderson, native Nebraskan, and grew up going to Big Red games. Oklahoma, Nebraska, so special to Lars.
And, you could argue it's a combination of the both, but the one common element of these last 3 years has been Scott and the staff. And it is incredibly aggravating to watch this team. And let me ask you this, Chris. Is the program in better shape today than it was when Scott began? It's that old question that I think it was Ronald Reagan.
The old Reagan
asked,
question, right? Are you better now than you were 4 years ago?
Yeah. So what's the answer to that? What do you think?
I think they're better off body-wise, body type-wise, depth-wise. I think his best team was that first season, 2018, Lars, where they finished 4-8, but won, I think, 4 of their last 6 games, almost beat Ohio State. A lot of close losses. You had a phenom in freshman Adrian Martinez. He has regressed, although he has stopped that backslide, in my opinion, this 4th season. Adrian's playing good ball. Hasn't got all the help. I think their O-line was better in 18. Their defense was miles away from where they are now, so the defense is better. And they've figured out what they can and can't do in the Big Ten. So they've gotten better, bigger body types at wide receiver. Now in 18 they had Stanley Morgan and Spielman and Stoll. So I mean they were better, and they had Ozigbo at running back, who's also on an NFL roster. So they had a better run game and supporting cast for Adrian. I think they can get to where they've got competent to really good playmakers on offense. I think the defense is really pretty talented and Big Ten ready. But their O-line and their run game is still a mystery. It's been Adrian left, right, or let's get out of a fire drill because I've got 4 guys breathing down my neck from the defensive line. So it's mixed. They're better in some areas than they were 4 years ago, but record-wise, as we speak, they're 2-1. But what's the outlook? It doesn't look like they'll be at 500 this year. They'll have to upset some people. Maybe they can get better. Maybe they can do it. But they need to make progress moving forward. And you got to ask yourself from a staff standpoint, if they don't get to a postseason, are staff changes going to be made? And what's Trev's level of patience like? I mean, he's the one that's going to be pulling his hair out if they keep beating themselves versus getting beat by a better team.
Yeah, and another thing I've noticed that has really frustrating is the wide receivers simply don't get any separation from the defensive backs. I mean, so they're not helping Adrian Martinez out. And I was talking with Jay Barker, my radio partner, former quarterback at Alabama, winningest quarterback at Alabama, which is saying something. But he said he didn't understand. He went back and sort of watched the coach's film of the Nebraska game because he was curious about Adrian Martinez. And he's like, he's just holding on to the ball like a beat too long. For whatever reason, he's a gun shy. He's not just letting the ball rip. Because he did have guys open in the Illinois game, and either he wasn't seeing them or he was just hesitant to throw the ball for some reason. And it still may go back to that lack of confidence that we saw manifest quite a bit last season. He is playing better. I mean, he makes spectacular plays. That run against Buffalo was unreal. Buffalo's a good team, by the way. That was a solid victory. I know Buffalo's in the MAC conference and all that, but Buffalo's a very good team, as you know, Chris. And Nebraska, that was a good victory for Nebraska heading into Oklahoma week. Their kicker's got to start making the gimmies, got to start making the extra points. I mean, the kicker ultimately cost a lot of people a lot of money in that Illinois game who bet, I think it was the over. Yours truly included. He makes those he makes those 2 extra points and you get the over. That's an issue. But I did see that he sort of manned up and faced the media after the game. Give him credit for that, and hopefully Nebraska's going to need some turnovers. They're going to have to play a clean game, no penalties or limit the penalties, and break off a big play here or there. They got to win special teams. I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt. It's time for him to have a little bit of redemption for these head-scratching decisions he's made. And, if he could make a big play on special teams, you never know. You never know, but it's going to be a tall mountain to climb.
Well, we'll see how it shakes out in Norman. We're on the road in Norman, and Lars Anderson with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, the Jay Barker Show, New York Times best-selling author 12 times over, A Season in the Sun with Bruce Arians, the Tampa title run from last year. Lars, we'll get caught up here in a couple of weeks as the season moves forward. Thanks for talking Nebraska, Oklahoma memories and importance with us here, bud, on the show today.
Enjoy Norman. It is the flattest place on the planet. I was there a few years ago, and I couldn't believe that it was even flatter than Nebraska. So, but enjoy Norman. It's going to be a great atmosphere, and let's see if the Huskers can pull off. Maybe we can have some Husker magic in this new generation, rather than the Sooner magic that always came back to bite the Huskers in the Osborne era.
I will get the rabbit and the top hat ready. Lars, you be good. Thanks again, man.
All right. You too, my friend. Bye-bye.
Good to hear from Lars Anderson. We will be joined on site here momentarily by Sooner great Marcus Dupree. He just wrapped his podcast out. We are on the road. We are in Norman, Cohiba Lounge, where we are at today, and for Real Red Reaction tomorrow with ESPN, and that's powered by Hail Varsity. Who put us on the road? Who says, all right, let's get Schmidt out of the state? 2 great sponsors, of course, Arrow Brokerage and Ferris Financial Group. When it comes to Ferris Financial, their goal is to educate, to coach, to help you work towards your investment goals, and their specialty is strategy. They can also help you with budgeting, planning, and overall strategy. And if there's a time of transition, and what the last 16, 18 months have been all about transition, whether it's a new job or a job change, Ferris Financial Group there for you. And what do you want to do when it's time to hang it up? Do you want to get a golf course, a golf cart? Do you want to spend your time and days golfing or by the pool or just with the grandkids? They are ready to help you with retirement and your future. and anywhere in between. Ferris Financial Group. Contact Marcus Schmidt today at 402-525-6824 or marcus.schmidt@lpl.com. Can email Ferris Financial Group, helping power the Hail Varsity Road Show here in Norman. FerrisFinancialGroup.com. Will Wilson back at our ESPN studios. Bill Doleman's coming up. The gentleman, Jim Walden, going to be with us next hour. And don't forget Clausebourne and the Friday forecast. Hail Varsity continues on. Marcus Dupree shortly. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Winding down this first hour, we're here at the Cohiba Lounge. It's Hail Varsity on the road, powered by your friends at Ferris Financial Group and Arrow Brokerage. I have sent my brother to try and tackle Marcus Dupree. That would not end well. My brother's pretty athletic. I think Marcus can still rush for 1,000. So we'll see if we get Marcus Dupree. He was a good dude, man. Came over, said what's up, as he was just wrapping up his podcast. We will check in with Bill Doleman and former Nebraska assistant and two-time head coach Jim Walden going to be with us in hour two. Don't forget Clausebourne in the forecast. We tell you about Arrow Brokerage helping power the Hail Varsity Road Show. Arrow, a full-service real estate brokerage owned and operated by local real estate investors. They specialize in real estate investment, and their talented team there to help clients with all faculties of real estate. That includes buying and selling, but also staging, investing, and much more. And if you're looking for help with real estate investment management, Arrow Brokerage there for you. Jenny Limbach or Marcus Schmidt can email brokerage@arrowlincoln.com. The website, arrowlincoln.com/brokerage. Facebook @ArrowLNK. And when it comes to Instagram, @Arrow_Lincoln. Ted, a longtime listener, emails in, and this is kind of on the heels of Nebraska and progress. And Ted kind of nails it here. There are some formulas here for success with a new coach. First, you hire a known super coach like Urban Meyer or Bob Stoops. We will see Bob Stoops in a little bit, or Nick Saban. The coaches bring in either immediate five-star recruits, and there's instant success. You look at Saban year 2, you look at Stoops year 2, you look at Urban, and Urban did a great job of picking spots, but also developing that talent level. Second, you hire a potential superstar like Coach Frost and hope it pans out. There's very few super coaches, and I'm not sure that any of them would be interested in Nebraska, a team that is 20 years removed from relevance. I am therefore still riding with Scott. Ted, I think Nebraska, because you've been a blue blood, you have a chance to get that relevance back quickly. That door is open and then held open for you if you go get a win like this. But some of the super coaches you're talking about, they go get that wow. They go get that attention-grabbing win early. I mean, you know what? Alabama was 6-7 in Saban's first year. They lost to the Colorado team that Ndamukong Suh and Alex Henry finished off. Okay, and then what happened? Oh, here's Julio Jones. Here's Mark Ingram. Here's 3 straight NFL quarterback first-round picks. So Nebraska has a chance to right things, put Illinois behind them, play good football, clean football tomorrow, and he can still get beat by 17 because Oklahoma's just better. But can Oklahoma maybe pull a Nebraska? That's provide a helping hand. Hour 2 on the way. Road Show Friday. Hail Varsity at the Cohiba Lounge right in front of the 1971 50th anniversary of the game of the century. Bill It's Hail Varsity.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmitz_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmitz.
Back to it, it's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Will Wilson, back at our ESPN studios. We're at the Cohiba Lounge. We are on site. We are storming Norman. And just across the street from campus, we're 3 blocks from Owen Field. And we are celebrating the Nebraska-Oklahoma game of the century, 1971. So many Husker greats are filing in here to the Cohiba Lounge. Marcus Dupree. Stiff-armed. I'm kidding. He was awesome. He's pretty cool. Here comes Tough Tony Davis, says what's up. And we are excited here to get into Hour 2. Jim Walden going to be with us in about 20 minutes or so. We will catch up with Clausebourne, maybe a Marcus Dupree sighting. And we welcome in the Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports. Bill Doleman with us. Billy D, you know Norman well, my friend. It's a hot, sunny day. It's quite different from gray, cold skies the day after Turkey Day, but man, it feels electric down here. It feels alive again with Nebraska, Oklahoma still on the schedule. How's your week been?
Well, it's good. What are you doing down there again?
I'm down here covering Nebraska, Oklahoma. We're
okay,
here live.
Right.
Okay, and then we're doing Real Red Reaction. I'm not filming in hotel rooms like some people I know.
I forgot that game was going on since Nebraska is apparently irrelevant in the college football landscape. I think this whole week has just once again proven what I've said for so many years now, despite the struggles Nebraska's had, that Nebraska is still very relevant in college football, whether the Huskers are good, whether they're bad, whether they're great, whether they're mediocre, whatever the case might be. Nebraska is still on the marquee in college football. Even though you got to harken back 50 years to the greatest game ever played between two of the greatest teams ever assembled, it's still significant that Nebraska and Oklahoma are meeting. And I would say this, that if the powers that be who created the Big 12 in the mid-1990s had not made the fateful decision to end the Nebraska-Oklahoma rivalry as an every-year game, that college football and the college sports world would look a whole lot different right now, because the Big 12, Nebraska would still be in the Big 12, Oklahoma and Texas would not be going to the SEC. We may have had a lot of changes when it comes to college football realignment and whatnot, but had Nebraska and Oklahoma met every year, the Big 12 would still have Nebraska and Oklahoma in it now until the end of time, and the college sports landscape would be different than what we have right now. That's how significant that rivalry was.
And OU went with Texas because of recruiting, and Nebraska replaced Oklahoma with Colorado. So, and then things shifted because of Texas.
The Big 12
Bill Doleman's with us, NBC
Oklahoma
Sports, the Pride of
Colorado.
Fairbury, host of the Tom Osborne Show. Bill, I want to get into today's matchup in a moment, but as close as you are to Coach Osborne, and I know things, I don't want to say got easier, but they looked a hell of a lot easier against Oklahoma. But being around him and Coach Devaney as much as you were, what did you glean from them with this matchup? We know how important it was. We know about the fan base. We know about the obsession to beat Oklahoma, the heartache, and then the triumph. But just, in the quiet moments or just normal moments around the office or the practice field, how did those guys act to your memory when this week hit?
Well, I can remember the days when I was a student assistant at Nebraska and having to go up to the press box, and I've told the story many times about, Ben Boyle and I used to run crowd noise with what sounded like a crowd from a Lincoln Northeast, Lincoln High game, but nevertheless, we'd be up there in the press box and you'd run crowd noise, but it was lockdown. I mean, there were there were security guards around the stadium, and it didn't matter if the game was home or away, but primarily when the game was in Lincoln. But, I can remember being up there in lockdown with my microphone and cassette tape player and, hitting play, hitting rewind, hitting play, hitting rewind, and having a security guard coming up there and telling me that I needed to leave because I was not authorized to be there. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But when this tape runs out, you need to hit rewind and then play because you're going to be the stadium. You're going to be the crowd noise, and if there's no crowd noise for the practice down there, you're the one that's going to be in trouble, not me. And so he goes to the radio, and okay, yeah, you can stay. But I said, well, if you want to, but just make sure the microphone stays up next to the speaker. I mean, there was no doubt that those weeks had a lot more tension to them and a lot more, dare I say, paranoia to them, and, justifiably so. But I think what was great about it, and I was thinking about it today, players came there at the beginning of the season in August, and Oklahoma was on their mind. Players came into the program in the summer as freshmen and knew that Oklahoma in November was going to be on their mind. And now it's you're trying to instill in people what Nebraska-Oklahoma meant, and that's really what this whole week seems to have been about with the national media is, remembering back to a much more glorious time in college football when this was the game and it meant everything. So, Tom knew that as never too high, never too low as Tom was. This game was essentially everything, even though you took them one game at a time. But once you got done with Missouri in October, which is always a black and blue game, it was always about Nebraska and Oklahoma and winning the Big 8 title. And, of course, Tom, transformed his entire program in the early 1980s by outdueling Barry Switzer for Turner Gill. And, that's what predicated the great run that Tom had from that moment on.
Bill Doleman's with us on Hail Varsity Radio, Pride of Fairbury, NBC Sports, talking Nebraska and Oklahoma. We're here at the Cohiba Lounge. The celebration, the 50th anniversary Nebraska-Oklahoma game of the century. Kickoff big noon tomorrow for Fox. Of course, 11 o'clock Central. And Real Red Reaction follows here. We're just 3 blocks from the stadium. A lot of the Husker greats are gathering here. And a really cool celebration, 6:30 to 9:30 tonight. Bill, let's talk Saturday. And tell me how it can happen for Nebraska to A, stay competitive, B, do the impossible, and that's pull the upset. Where, first and foremost, where are you at with tomorrow? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, here's the first thing that Nebraska needs to do. In the first series, and perhaps the first play, they need to run one of those pass plays where they pick the defensive backs off so they can get that penalty out of the way. Because we do know that Nebraska is going to have a touchdown called back when they run that same pass pattern, because that's just the way it is, right? I don't know if there are Big Ten officials covering this game, but we know that they'll throw a flag on that. So the first play of the game is Nebraska needs to run that crossing route so that they get that penalty called and they can get the touchdown wiped off the board. That's just going to happen. Nebraska's got to play. They're not going to play error-free football. That's just going to be impossible. It's not going to be the 71 game where there's only one penalty and a couple of turnovers on each side. We know this Nebraska football team, unfortunately, has a propensity to have a penalty at the wrong time, to have a turnover at the wrong time. So we know that's going to happen. But they just cannot do something that is stupid, outside of, okay, you get hit hard and you fumble. Something along those lines. You can't have one of those excessive celebration penalties. You can't have that late hit. You can't give them the idea that we may have a targeting call. Everything's got to be fairly clean within the context of the game. That first and foremost is going to give them the chance. The other thing is they got to run the ball effectively. Are they going to use 4 guys who are going to carry it 6 to 8 times a piece? I don't know. I'm not sure if that works, but that's what I assumed they were going to do, and that's what they've done. I still want to see more option, but the other thing I think this comes down to is, and this is supposed to be Nebraska's strength, is the secondary. That secondary has to be lights out against that group of receivers. That's the bottom line. I don't know how great Spencer Rattler is, but I know that his receivers make him a lot better. And so Nebraska's secondary, usually I say it's got to be on the line, and it always does, but I think Nebraska's secondary is going to be critical and how this game plays out.
Big games need to be had by JoJo Doleman for sure. Cam Taylor-Britt is going to be a major factor tomorrow. Ty Robinson getting after Rattler. OU's pretty good with the backs they have. They got the Tennessee transfer. Bill, we are thinking that, all right, you might see Omar Manning tomorrow. I don't know that you're going to see Oliver Martin tomorrow. You're going to get probably both tight ends back. It just seems like Adrian, there's a count or two with him trying to make a read versus just kind of, okay, here's my first option. Let's just get it out of his hands. Does Nebraska try and tweak that tomorrow with what they're asking Adrian to do? Can they let him be a little bit more free when it comes to what the ask is? Yes, run the football, keep on some zone read, but yes, also a chance to make things happen with some run-pass option.
Well, I don't think this is a game where Adrian Martinez can win it all by himself. I think Nebraska's got to get the football in the hands of other people. They've certainly made a hell of a lot of money for Samori Toure. That guy's gone from a Division, FCS All-American to probably a third-round draft pick now, and is making more money each and every week, NIL or what. But Oklahoma's going to be loading up on that guy. If you're saying that the tight ends are going to be there, I wrote that down as one of my other keys, is they've got to have capable tight ends that can make the catch and get some yards after catch and hold on to the football. I think that's critical. But I don't think this can be a game where you're going to rely on Adrian Martinez scrambling for 71 yards because the seas parted for him and he's able to lope his way through the secondary. That's just not going to happen. So I don't want to see this as a game, well, what are we going to let Adrian do so Adrian wins the game for us? Adrian is not going to win the game for Nebraska. This is a total team thing. And I really think there's got to be a running back or two, not four, but two that have breakout type games. And maybe it's, Morrison, going back home to Oklahoma and breaking out and having a big day. I don't know. But to me, this cannot be on what Nebraska allows Adrian to do. Everybody's got to be involved. And if Omar Manning is a threat, now's the time to prove it. I think those guys are going to be critical. But I just cannot put this game all in Adrian Martinez's hands.
Bill Doleman's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Scott's approach is what? Does Nebraska really truly have no fear of failure tomorrow? And do they go attack like he talked about earlier in the week? Or is there a bit of Scott being gun-shy with, oh no, this could happen, the worst-case scenario type mindset?
Well, part of me goes back to the days of never too high, never too low, one game at a time, even though what I said earlier, that everybody knew Nebraska and Oklahoma in November was a big deal. I don't think, I listened to a little bit of what Scott said this week. I like that, we've got a lot to gain and nothing to lose, but at the same time, I think Nebraska's got to go into it with an even keel as best as they possibly can. And not have, some dumb penalty because you are just too jacked up and you're too physical and you're too whatever. I think that there still has to be an approach that, you've got it in your mind that it's Nebraska and Oklahoma and this is the way college football is supposed to be and we're going to go play hard and we're going to not make mistakes. And, I don't want to say businessman-like because that's just not possible. But I think Nebraska has to have a much more disciplined approach than just putting it all out there and let's see what happens. Because if something bad, really, really bad could happen, and we've seen that with a couple of Ohio State games or Wisconsin games in recent years where nothing to lose. Well, you end up losing really big. So I think Nebraska needs to be much more focused in its enthusiasm for this game than just throw it all out there and let's see what happens. And we got nothing to lose.
I think from an enthusiasm standpoint, I think Nebraska is going to be excited because they're going against a college football playoff contender, the number 3 team in the country. And talking with Dean Blevins, honestly, it's a situation where, OU and the history, the kids have been told about it, but what's their care level? And what's the respect level for Nebraska? I think Oklahoma was scared enough by Tulane that they'll be focused, but it's a great opportunity for Nebraska tomorrow, and that's how they got to view it. Bill, I need a score prediction from you, and give me your pick to maybe take down a Bill Doleman Pride of Fairbury MVP.
Well, I think I read where in Scott's 2 or 3 years against Oklahoma, I think the Huskers outscored them something like 147-39 or something along those lines, 139-47. I think that's a premonition. So I'm thinking something along the lines of 147-39. I don't see how that's out of the realm of possibility tomorrow. The other thing I've also been going back to is I take a lot of responsibility for that loss in '86 because Keith Jackson made that catch on 4th and 12 right out in front of me. And had I not stepped onto the field and made the tackle or stopped him from making the catch, Nebraska wins that game probably, 17-10. So I'm going to either go 147-13 or, as it would have been had I made that tackle and prevented him from catching it, 17-10.
Bill Doleman giving you a couple of options there. Bill, it's all right. Even if you would have gotten Keith's way, sooner magic would have happened. Bill, we'll get caught up next week. Thanks for spending time with us, bud.
All right, go Big Red, the real Red.
There he is, the Pride of Fairbury, Bill Doleman. Tony Davis on the way. Jim Walden coming up with Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here, it's Hail Varsity Radio Road Show Friday. We're here at the Cohiba Lounge, and our road show with Hail Varsity powered by your friends at Arrow Brokerage, Ferris Financial Group. A lot of Husker legends here as we'll celebrate the game of the century, the 50th anniversary, 1971. We welcome in a big-time assistant for Nebraska and Coach Devaney, played quarterback for Coach Devaney. Jim Walden with us, great coach at Iowa State and Washington State. Coach, thanks for making time as the two Big Reds are back at it. How is your Friday going?
Well, it's going just great. I'm pretty pumped about the ball game tomorrow. I really am. I never dreamed they would end that rivalry, and it's kind of fun to see it back playing again, even though they don't play it every year. So, kind of fun, Chris.
It is fun. We'll see if it remains fun. The folks in Vegas say what they say. I want to go back 50 years, Coach Walden, and when it came to prepping for that wishbone, that attack that Switzer had, and you and Monty getting things prepared. How was it from a stress level, and then B, how do you think the defense and Rich Glover and company executed? What a memorable game. 55 million saw it.
Well, I remember it being really intense, Chris, and I think everybody wonders, why so intense? Well, two things. I think biggest thing, you had number one and number two in the nation playing each other. Both of them were runaway freight trains as to how they had beat up on the opponents that each had played. So it was just an unbelievable, colossal matchup between two what looked like tremendous football teams. And I think, and the fact that they played it on Thanksgiving Day, which gave it an additional 10 days other than your usual 7 from the last games that we both played. So I think the build-up was just phenomenal. The amount of athletes on each team was just over the chart. It seems like I saw a thing the other day. Jake Potter wrote an article about, and I didn't even realize this, that of the top 22 teams in the Big 8 conference that year, the number one team on both offense and defense, there were 17 Nebraska or Oklahoma players on the top 22. So that tells you how many really, really good players were heading right into this thing. So we were also nervous. Coach Devaney made us bring our own food. he wasn't really sure that he could trust anything. But I think that goes to nervousness. and it was nervous. I'm sure Monty Gibbon would tell you if he could remember it. I know he can. There was times when we thought that, with our great defense, we knew we would be pretty good, and then we watched their offense, and the closer the game got, Chris, the more afraid we became.
With Coach DeVet, so let me ask you, what'd you have to eat if you had to bring your own food?
Well, I think it was always a pregame steak that we brought. We had the truck, the people, the trainers and all brought it down. Heck, I can't remember, but normally, let's just put it this way, I don't think very many of our guys, including coaches, had enjoyed their pregame meal. I don't think a lot of it was eaten, so it wouldn't have made any difference what they brought. I don't think we ate very much. We're all too nervous.
Were you worried about spying by OU?
No, I don't think so. I think in those days it was pretty honorable. I don't think either one of us thought we had to. We had all the film. We had everything that we would need, and so I can't remember if we locked out anybody or not. That, Coach Beatty wasn't big on that, and I don't think Barry was either. So I think it was just, more nervousness than anything else, and just couldn't wait to get to the game. I think it got to a point where about Monday of the week we played, everybody on both sides, I think, was just so darn ready to play because they were so tired of questions and media and everything being charted, and afraid to death to say something that might spark some good in the other team. So we were ready to go.
Jim Walden's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Jim, going to bring in a player of yours and Hall of Famer Tony Davis. Coach, remember Tony? And Tony, say hi to Coach.
Coach, how are you?
I'm good. Tony, how you doing, my man?
I recognize that Mississippi drawl, brother.
Well, are you living in Nebraska?
No, I'm in Colorado. I've been there 30 years.
Oh, okay. Well, bless your heart. I know you're down there with all the guys. I wish I was with you, but what I wish more than that, Tony, I wish they'd had a little something in Lincoln for the guys that actually won the game and won the national championship. Don't you?
Yeah, we'll get through that. Maybe next year honor him. But, Coach, I watched the game of the century last week. I hadn't watched it in years, and I watched it. And one thing that was stunning to me, I think Richie Glover was in on every dang tackle. It was the dangest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, he was. And we used to tease me, Tony, he worked with us for he was one of, not D-line coach for 2 years out here at Washington State. Well, 1 year was Warren. I don't want to take credit, but we worked together as coaches 2 years, and we used to give him heck about that. And I tell you something, he was a pretty darn good football coach on top of that. He was almost as good a coach as he was a player, but I'm not sure I'd give him quite that much.
Yeah, in 1971 was my freshman year. It was the last year that freshmen could not play varsity. Not that I would have, but
well, I think you were a freshman, and Jimmy Burrow
Coach
was
Walden
a transfer.
was one of the assistant freshman coach, and then Coach Ross breaks his leg. Bill Anderson rolls him up on the sideline and breaks his leg, and Coach Walden took over as the head freshman coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
How was that?
And, it was an unbelievable year, and it was just, I teased Jimmy Burrow because we had brought Jimmy Burrow out from the University of Mississippi, Chris and Tony, and he actually walked on at Ole Miss. Little bitty shrimp of a guy. I had coached him in high school, and he comes boiling out to Nebraska with all 155 pounds of it, and he was our scout team quarterback through that whole process. And I have to tell you, during the week of the Oklahoma game, he ran that option damn near as good as Mildred did.
Yeah, I remember they brought some of us up. I was running one of the halfback spots there, and I went out on one play and was supposed to cut Willie Harper, the great Willie Harper, and I didn't. I'm not going to cut Willie Harper. You crazy? I don't cut him. And Willie snatches me up and says, "What's Greg Pruitt going to do to me?" He said, he's probably going to try to cut you. Then you try to cut me. He got mad at me. That was the most intense week I've ever been around in my life of practice.
It was that. I tell everybody, I said, the freshmen, I was out there just helping out. I said, it was amazing just to go through that whole process, the nervousness of everybody. But it turned out great, and we won the game, and that's all that matters.
Oh, by the way, that freshman team, the last true freshman team, 14 of those players signed NFL contracts.
That's recruiting. That's development. You know.
Well, that's
Coach Walden.
Clete Fisher hey, Chris, that's because Clete Fisher kept bringing guys in like Tony Davis, telling us they were 6'2" and 180, and then they got there and they were 5'10", 155, and we had to make great players out of them. How's that?
That's pretty good. Jim Walden with us, Hail Varsity Radio. On the road here at the Cohiba Lounge, Tony Davis, Hall of Fame Husker, and of course Jim Walden, great coach and assistant on that 71 team. Coach Walden, I want to get your, and then Tony, I want your thoughts as well. Coach, first with tomorrow. What's this opportunity mean for Coach Frost, and what's the outlook for you, Coach Walden?
Well, I'll be very honest with you, to the Nebraska fans that are listening. I think it's going to be it will take a tremendous effort by Nebraska, an almost flawless effort tomorrow. And I don't mean it. I just don't think right now the depth of the program where Scott wants it to be has had the same opportunity as Oklahoma has had over the last 5-10 years to keep things in a certain point. And they didn't have that. Nebraska went backwards for several years. Oklahoma, fortunately for them, has never had that. I think they need some turnovers tomorrow. I think it would be nice to get a couple, maybe 3, to help. And then I think Nebraska has to play almost perfect in terms of the turnover mile. Get as much out of each possession as you possibly can, and then do the best job that you can on their quarterback, which is going to be a tough job. So all in all, I look for it to be a tremendously played game. I hope it is. I think I'd be lying if I told you I didn't think Oklahoma might be a little bit the better. But heck, that's what upsets are all about.
What do you think?
Well, about what Coach said, that we are building, and we look like we're in a building phase right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure that we can win this game, but you just don't know. You know, you never know. Something might click tomorrow. Who knows? Adrian Martinez is a big key to that. So I also noticed them running a lot more option last week, and I've seen them run in a long time, which is encouraging to me.
Well, we'll see if Adrian can get it handled, get some help. Coach Walden, this was so much fun to spend a few minutes with you. Thanks for jumping on with us today, and always appreciate your insight.
Good talking to you, Coach.
All right, you two guys, take care, and let's hold our breath and win a ball game tomorrow. Go Husker.
All right, Coach Jim Walden with us here at Hail Varsity Radio. Tony Davis on site. Tony, a couple of minutes before we got a hard break, but a thought here on this event, celebrating 71. Your numbers speak for themselves with what your ability was and how good you were with Nebraska football. But man, does it feel like 50? I guess is the question. As so many great Huskers, and of course the career achievement plaques behind us. You got a slew of them you brought with you.
Yeah, we made some. My son Josh makes these. Excuse me.
Water. Get
alumni cap plaques. I'm losing my voice. Just a second.
We'll get back with Tony Davis here in just a moment. We're getting water. You good now? Sort of, kind of?
Well, that's what I get for smoking that cigar.
That's all right, man. That's all right.
But we come down here to I'm good friends with Joe Washington, my nemesis, And in fact, and this evening they're having a Sooner event, and I'm going to go down and Dewey Selman's son is one of the athletic directors here, asked me to come down and speak to their group, and so I'm going to go down and I said the only reason they invited me is I got beat 3 years by the Sooners, and so they wanted somebody who didn't beat them, I guess.
Hang tight, Tony Davis with us here, Hail Varsity on the road. We are powered by your friends at Arrow Brokerage, Ferris Financial Group. We are here for post-game tomorrow, Real Red Reaction, of course, weekend edition of Hail Varsity, 7 to 9 a.m. More, we'll do our Friday forecast, the infamous Clausebourne on the way.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmitty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Back into it, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery, winding down a road show Friday. We're here at the Cohiba Lounge as we are here ahead of the 1971 Nebraska-Oklahoma 50th anniversary celebration. Good stuff from Tony Davis, Jim Walden, Bill Doleman, Lars Anderson. Pretty awesome to get caught up, and it's been a great week in nostalgia. And we'll see what Nebraska can do about the here and now and what type of impression they can make. Ross chimes in on the stream, ESPN Lincoln's Facebook. We are streaming live so you can watch and try and keep your food down. I am not a beautiful man, but you have Ross chiming in here. This is a quality opponent with a full 4 years of Frost recruits. Win or lose, this game is the statement for Frost's coaching skills and his future at Nebraska, period. It's a knife and a gunfight is what is going on. That's what you have tomorrow. But sometimes you get folks that are accurate with knives. Let's welcome in the mysterious, the make-believe, the man who wears red. We say hi to Clausebourne on Hail Varsity for the Friday forecast. Claus, pretty big week. It's Nebraska OU. How's it going?
Well, it's going good. I just keep going back to that liner about you being in your 30s. We've got to get the voice guy to work on that. But don't worry, Chris, no matter how old you get, you'll never be over the hill. Certainly not in that thing you drove to Norman. So I think you'll be fine.
Well, let's get into some of the forecast. We will save the Nebraska-Oklahoma prediction for last, but let's get in here and talk Cincinnati and Indiana. Indiana got slapped by Iowa. Cincinnati, Luke Fickell, is he a USC candidate? Who knows? But the Bearcats -3.5. Indiana needs a bounce back, and I think they do it. I think they've learned. I think Penix will take care of the ball a little bit better. And I'm going to take Indiana in the points at home. Just enough, 34-30. Indiana in a shootout. Give me the Hoosiers. Will Wilson, what say you?
Great pick, Schmitty. I like Indiana answering, and I'll take Indiana.
Give me a score, brother.
Come on. Let's go 32-28 Indiana.
Okay. Claus, what do you say here? Cincy or IU?
Well, I'm glad Luke has done some good things with that football program. Before, Cincinnati really only had a couple things to hang their hat on, the annual WKRP turkey drop and not being Cleveland. But with God as my witness, I'm going the opposite way of you fellas. I'm going to take Cincinnati in this one, 35, and Indiana 27.
Let's head on down to Miami, the U, trying to recover and regroup. Almost a second consecutive loss against Jacksonville State, or maybe that was Florida State. Anywho, Appalachian State almost did Miami dirty. Bama did. And right now, here comes Michigan State. Mel Tucker, the U's favored 6.5. I think Michigan State goes out, gets the road win. I think Michigan State, they'll bring their defense, they'll bring their special teams, and they are just too physical, and they've got a boatload of confidence. Give me Michigan State, just enough offense, 28-24. The win, outright win over the U. Maybe I'm wearing too many Big Ten glasses, but I'm going with Sparty. Will, what do you say?
That's a great pick, but I saw like everybody in the world is going for Michigan State, so I just got to go against that. I'll take Miami. Let's go 30-17.
Claus, what do you say here, Sparty or the U?
Well, thinking of Miami, of course, I have plenty of my own stories about Miami. But earlier this week, you had a good friend of mine by the name of Barry on, And, of course, he coached the famous Miami receiver Michael Irvin with the Dallas Cowboys. And Barry once told me that he made Michael mad by taking away his playbook. And he said Michael was mad because he hadn't finished coloring it yet.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what's the difference? Michael couldn't stay in the lines anyway unless they were made of white powder. Now, that was a different era of Miami. I don't think this team is as good as the ones Michael played on, so I'm with you, Christopher. And I'll take Michigan State 28 and Miami 21.
Moving on, as we continue with the Friday forecast, Hail Varsity Radio. What do you think of Bama? Bama is favored by almost 15 at Florida. It was a bit of a scare last year in the SEC championship game. Florida put up a lot of points. Way different Florida team, offensively, defensively. I think Bama maybe be a bit sluggish, but ends up rolling. Give me Alabama 35-17. And just a barely a cover by Bama, but I think they do work in the swamp. What do you say, Will?
I think Bama wins. I'll take Florida to cover, though. Let's go 30-21.
Okay. Claus, what happens here? Bama, the cover, the win, or is Florida upset-minded?
Well, I think Bama wins. I think they're the best team in the country. And I think Florida is pretty overrated. In fact, I'd say they're as overrated as USC was. And that's not the only thing that Florida and USC have in common. Of course, they both had a famous athlete go pro and something other than sports, murder.
Wow.
Roll Tide and R.I.P. Norm Macdonald, Bama 41 and Florida 21.
Man. All right, let's move on to Claus. We're going to skip the Penn State game. Is that okay?
Well, I think we all know where I was going with that, so okay.
War Eagle, Penn State, yeah. Nebraska and Oklahoma, the line 22.5. The Sooners favored. I think Nebraska maybe gets a little bit of a spark, but too much OU, too much old Nebraska. OU wins, covers 50-17. Oklahoma, the win and the cover, and it will not feel good with what OU can do offensively, defensively. And I hope I'm wrong. I don't know that I will be. What do you say, Will Wilson?
I'll go 56-21 Oklahoma.
Okay, you think it's a public flogging as well.
Correct.
Claus, give us the thought here. What happens here? Oklahoma, Nebraska, minus 22.5 Sooners.
Well, as you know, Christopher, I always pick Nebraska to win. But in this game, I think late in the game, Oklahoma's going to have the advantage, 31-28. And then they're going to punt. And the kick will be high. It'll hold up there. Cam Taylor-Britt will take it at the 30. He'll be hit and get away. Back upfield to the 35, to the 40, the 45, to the 50, to the 45, to the 30, the 20, the 10, and he'll be all the way home. Holy moly. Man, woman, and child, will that put him in the aisles. Cam the Jet Britt Taylor will tear them loose from their shoes. Nebraska 35 and Oklahoma 31.
Claus, that is good. We'll talk next week.
As you're driving right now, you're following the rules of the road. You're a cautious driver, a defensive driver. But not everyone out there is. Some folks look at a yellow light not as a caution, but as a challenge. Others look at the speed limit not as the maximum, but as the minimum. I'm Vince Powers of Powers Law. We represent folks who've been injured because of bad drivers. 402-474-8000. There's no fee unless we recover money for you.
2 years now of feeling fantastic, laser-sharp focus, tons of energy, super positive attitude, and a great relationship with my wife. Hey, it's The Suit. Rob Kelly here at ESPN Lincoln. All of these things can happen for you with one call to Limitless Male. My life changed substantially within just a few weeks of testosterone replacement therapy. I've lost weight, I look younger, and feel like a new guy. Check out LimitlessMale.com today and get your free evaluation set up. It's easy. Plus, if you're having any ED issues, Limitless Male can help you there too. Get with it and get healthy like I did with a call or visit to Limitless Male Clinic today.
We're short of PCO today. Let's try to stay on schedule.
New customers have Emery's exterminator business buzzing.
Fungicide.
She needs new specialists to tackle a swarm of appointments.
Norwegian tree mouse. That's a first.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's get one thing straight. There's no one dedicated to getting it done like Cross Country Mortgage. They've got the best closers in the game, full stop. Who else do you know that can close a home in 21 days or less? With the team chemistry the Cross Country Mortgage loan officers have, a home-owning win couldn't be more certain. We're talking every type of loan, reno, refi, jumbo, and more. Visit ccm.com to close your mortgage. Cross Country Mortgage, dedicated to getting it done.
Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is an audio demo of the new Sonic app. Just look at that menu. Here are some of the Sonic classics clearly. I'll customize my tots by adding those. Gotta get the ocean water. What is that color? An ocean blue? See that? Drinks and slushes are always half price in the app. And this is how you do the contactless payment. Will you look at that? I guess you can't, but you can when you order in the Sonic app.
Limited time offer. Exclusions apply. See app for details. Mobile ordering available at select locations.
I'm weatherology meteorologist Derek Doleman with your Capital City forecast. For tonight, partly cloudy, lows around 59. On Saturday, abundant sunshine. We'll see a high temperature into the mid-80s. That's the forecast on Lincoln's ESPN. Currently, it's 74.
High school football Friday night. Millard North is in town to play Lincoln East. Coverage begins at 6:50. Brought to you by the Sportscasters Club.
ESPN Lincoln, FM 1015, 1480 AM. And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Roadshow Friday. It's Hail Varsity presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Big thanks to Clausebourne with the Friday forecast. Jim Walden, the Hall of Fame coach, and Tony Davis, Hall of Fame Husker, the 1971 50th anniversary reunion commencing here at the Cohiba Lounge. And, of course, the Career Achievement Plaque distribution will get underway. Pretty awesome setup here. We are thankful to be out here. Our friends at Arrow Brokerage and Ferris Financial making this happen with another road show in Norman. Will Wilson back at our studio. Weekend edition tomorrow morning from Soonerville. The Uncle Andy RV is going to be opened up, and the kegs and eggs will be going, and it'll be tailgate time from 7 to 9 a.m. We'll get to the game, see how Nebraska performs, and then be back here for Real Red Reaction. Mark is on the line. Mark, thanks for hanging in. Thanks for your call. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Lau from the grave, and boy, I'll give that somebody an E for effort for trying to do a duplicate. But how it went in 1971, one of the greatest runbacks was here's Wiley's kick. It's high. It holds up there. Rogers takes the ball to 30. He's heading got away. Back upfield to the 35, to the 40. He's to the 45. He's to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 20, to the 10. He's all the way home. Holy moly. Man, woman, and child did that. Put them in the aisles. Johnny the Jet Rogers just tore them loose from their shoes, and I'm going out of my gourd. Lord, take me now. I've seen it all.
Well done, Mark. A tribute to the great Lyle Bremser. Appreciate the input. You got a score for us tomorrow?
Yeah, I did. Well, history repeats itself, as you know, and legends live on. So I'm going to go Nebraska 28-24 over Oklahoma in an upset. 3 fumbles by Oklahoma.
All right. Well done, Mark. Appreciate you listening, man. Not bad. Lyle, I had some buddies that worked with Lyle, and, man, he was as good as it gets. You know, we'll see where things go for Nebraska. Big game for Adrian. See if he performs well. Spencer Rattler, does he get... Yes, I'm going there. Rattled by the black shirt defense. Do they get after him? Is it pinata time? Or is OU able to do just whatever the hell they want? And, Nebraska's defense, they'll have to be great tomorrow. They'll have to force turnovers. but they'll also have to get some help with complimentary football. Will, what's on the docket for you tonight, man? I know you're geeked up for Nebraska OU tomorrow.
Yeah, man, I got to go over to my brother's wedding shower, make a brief appearance there, and then head downtown, work a bar shift, and get up at 6 a.m. and head to Kansas City tomorrow.
Look at you.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping Salvi doesn't hit a home run tonight so I can watch him hit the record tomorrow.
Yeah, he's tied with Johnny Bench, 45. And Salvi's, we had a chance to see him hit 2 out when I took Junior down to watch his beloved Yankees. Well, hey, thanks to everyone this week for tuning in to Hail Varsity. Catch the podcast, good, bad, or ugly. Give us a rating. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and subscribe. Hail Varsity Radio. Big thanks to Will Wilson, Elijah Herbal, Coach Switzer, Grant Wistrom this week, Cody Davis, of course, Brad Edwards, Uncle Mark for helping set this stuff up, Uncle Andy for navigating, and we'll be back tomorrow morning 7 to 9 from the tailgate lot. Real Red Reaction live from Norman tomorrow with Hail Varsity at ESPN Lincoln. Enjoy Nebraska OU tomorrow.